Hello, and thank you so much for joining me for Tune In Tuesday. My name is Sharon Rogers, and this is my buddy Crash. We're from Mrs. Rogers Stamperhood, where creativity lives. Every second and fourth Tuesday, I like to bring you a free online class, and tonight's class is going to feature the Enduring Beauty stamp set, dies, and masks that debuted in the last annual catalog. Now, the current catalog has something very similar. Whereas the Enduring Beauty items that we're going to be using tonight feature beach rose types of roses, the layers of beauty that you can find on page 57 in your catalog, those are more of your traditional, Valentine's Day roses. And so they are very similar, they work very similarly. The one difference that I can see is that in the die set, there is one die that cuts out a flower that is from this stamp set as well. So you can have either the full die or you can just have a portion of it. But pick whichever kind of rose you like best. Both of these are winners in my book. Let's get started. This first card is going to be very simple, and it is inspired by one of the cards that was in last year's catalog when this debuted as a bundle. Now, we're just going to use the stamps, which is what they did as well. I'm using Summer Splash, which is an in color for 2024-2026. Here's our card base. We'll do something with that in just a second. Then I'm going to cut a smaller piece. Let's go an inch smaller. So I'm going to make it 3 1/4 by 4 1/2. I think that's the size I'd like it. Let's see what it looks like when we put it on our base. Yep, that's going to be about right. Now I want to put something all over this base, and I'm going to use this to do it. But first, I'm going to go ahead and figure out what the focal point is for my base right here. And we're going to go ahead and, well, I probably should have gone a little bit bigger so I could fit the whole image. But if I purposefully make things go off the edges, then that will be fine. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to emboss. Now, did you know that Stampin' Up! Has a new line of embossing powders? It's called Wow. It's probably not their own, but it comes in this, you can get it in two different kinds of color packs. One, you can get metallics, so you've got copper and gold and silver. And the other, you have white and black and clear. We're going to use the white one, and so I have to read the labels because the white and the clear look very, very similar. So I know that that one's white, so we're going to use that. Sorry for the crinkle crinkle sounds. I've got more coming. This is how I keep my embossing powders. So here we go. I'm going to take my embossing buddy out. And we're going to rub it all over this card. That'll take some of the oils and moisture out of the cardstock, giving us a better impression. And hopefully not any fingerprints when we add the embossing powder. I'm going to take my Versamark pad and ink up my stamp. Now I said we're going to do something to the background. Right now I'm going to find out if we can do it with ink, regular ink, or Versamark ink. So let's just go ahead and see if we can put this on here. Get a good impression. All right, so this tells me what I need to know is when I get to the next step, I'm going to be using regular ink and not Versamark. So sometimes you can get a tone-on-tone color, which you can sort of see on here, but it's not quite dark enough for me for what I want. So I'm just going to be using inks when I get there, but for right now, I'm not there. Let's just pour some of this Wow embossing powder all over it. Now, if you have some of the old embossing powder, you shouldn't mix it because they're two different brands. They're probably going to emboss differently. And honestly, you know how things aren't necessarily the same. They might both say white, but believe it or not, there are different shades of white. See it all the time with the paper that I use at work. Some things are brighter than others. All right, we're going to bring in our embossing gun. I'm going to let it heat up for just a second. Now, one of the nice things about this Glass Mat Studio is it is heat resistant, so I can emboss right on it. But you don't need it. You can just hold it up. Just be careful that you don't burn your fingers. So start away from your fingers. I like to hold my heat tool so that it's parallel with my other arm here. And when I start to see the embossing powder turn bright and shiny, then that means it's embossed and I can move on to another section. If you don't move on and you stay in the same place, after it's already melted, it will end up melting into the paper, and then you won't have a raised effect anymore. And then just turn it as you need to. What you do want to avoid is facing it perpendicular. You don't want the heat to bounce back towards the gun. So always have it at a bit of an angle. Look at how pretty that is. Just all that white. All right, now I'm not gonna worry about cleaning my stamp because it's just got Versamark on it. It's not gonna hurt anything. I'm gonna bring in my Summer Splash ink pad and ink it up. And then I'm going to stamp kind of around the edges here. Now that's pretty bright. I suspect it's going to dry a little bit softer. Oftentimes the ink is darker and then it lightens up as it dries. I don't have to worry about the center because I'm going to be covering it up. There we go. So we just have some pretty edges here. And we're going to end up putting this on here. And another thing that you can bring in here is you can bring in a piece of white. Now, the sample in the catalog, from my recollection, does not have any white in there. They just kept it tone on tone. I believe they used Pool Party, which is one of my favorites, but not what I'm using right now. But you could keep it monochromatic, which just means one color. White is not considered a color, so you can be monochromatic and not and use white. So remember we had our smallest piece 1 inch smaller in all the dimensions, so it was 3 1/4. So I'm going to make this, I think, 3 1/2. I'm going to give it a nice solid border, and instead of 4 1/2, we're going to make it 4 3/4. Now watch this come alive when we put a piece of white there. Isn't that pretty? How summery is this? This is so summery. Looks so pretty. I definitely am feeling the summer vibes lately. I think I'm enjoying summer a little bit more right now because it is not hot, hot, hot. And I know we don't get it as hot as maybe some of you, like Reba in Alabama. We certainly don't get it as hot as people that are in Las Vegas. Oh my goodness, 115, 120, 125, that's crazy stuff. I can't even imagine. Dry heat or not, doesn't matter, right? Hot's hot. A furnace is a furnace. Okay, so there we have that right there. And now we need a sentiment. And if I bring this in, I kind of wanted to use a long sentiment to go across the middle here, but it's always been you. I just can't use that one. I can use it for my husband, but I'm struggling with however else I'm going to use it. So I'm going to go with embrace the beauty of you. And even though there's a die in here that would fit that lovely in a great way, I mean, it would certainly fit on that die that is in here. I'm not going to die cut. I'm going to keep this a pretty simple card. I'm going to put my sentiment on here, and let's just get a piece of, let's see if this is going to be wide enough. It sure is. We'll get our ink out again. I'm not sure why I keep putting it away. I'll ink this up. Embrace the beauty of you. A good encouragement for a girlfriend. You know, we all have those friends who just don't think either that they're beautiful or that they're worthy, and that's just not true. So let's encourage people. Encouragement does wonders. I'm gonna move this out of the way. I'm gonna find my scissors. I got to talking with my son and I started cutting. So I stamped embrace the beauty of you. And then I got to talking and I started cutting. I'm just gonna cut these on an angle here. And we can put this wherever we want. Let's see if I wanna bring in some of my Summer Splash ribbon here and just kind of zigzag this underneath. See what that would look like. Yeah, it just puts a little something something there. So I'm going to take about 8 inches. So 8 inches is this much. I'm going to cut my ends on an angle so they don't fray. Probably doing it off camera, sorry. And let's see, we're going to just zigzag them back and forth. I probably have to cut it down a little bit. Yeah, just a little bit, I think. Oh, that's not bad. There we go. We'll have something that goes just like that. So to keep I'm going to just take my Seal Plus that I have right here handy. Cut that across the middle and just make sure that it's kind of up high enough, centered enough. Let's see how this looks. Actually got a little bit of water. I spilled water too while I was talking to my son. Wow. Just before I started talking to him. He was in here patting Crash, who was sitting on the back of my chair. So we're gonna have something that looks like that. I wanna pop this up on dimensionals. So in my quest to use up some dimensionals, let's go ahead, take that on that side, this on this side. There's ribbon in the center, but I think I can still use a little bit of a piece in the center. It's a fairly long sentiment. So we have something that looks just like that. And then let's see, do we have some gems that would work here? I know I do. I don't want to use the in color gems. I'm thinking of another package of gems that I have. And that's the adhesive backed sequins trio. So we have white in here that would look really nice. We also have some of these peacock ones, but I'm gonna try one. I'm not convinced it's the right kind of color. Oh, you know what? That looks kind of nice there too. But let's see how the white ones go. They're white, but they're also a little iridescent. I think I like the peacock ones. Let's go ahead with the peacock ones. And there's pink in here as well. Just some really pretty colors. You know what? I'm going to take a small one over there. Put this one on down here. We'll put a small one up here. I think I'm going to go a little crazy and put a couple up here. Put a bunch all over. I'm not sure I like this one right where it is. Let's see. Put it as the O and the U. No, don't like that. I don't want it too, too cornery. So let's put another one. Let's do this. Let's do that. And maybe I'll move this one just a little bit. I swear this is the hardest thing for me, is placing some of these things. I think I like it, and then I'm like, maybe not. There we go. That's not bad. All right. And so now we're just going to put something on the inside. So I have a piece of basic white. Let me get my stamp out, even though I just put it away. Here's my Enduring Beauty stamps again. Now that I cleaned it, we'll just get it dirty again. I think I am going to still stamp off on this just because it's the inside. I don't want to go too crazy and too dark. We'll ink it up. And get back our scrap paper here. This is a different scrap paper, but it still works. Stamping off. And then we're going to stamp, let's just stamp over to the side here. We just put a little bit of flowers on the inside, just to give it a little bit of decoration. And then we will adhere it to the center and call that first card done. There we go. And there is our first card. Quick commercial break here. This is a free online class. However, if you would like the class card kit that will contain the cardstock and embellishments that will allow you to create 2 of each of tonight's cards, plus 1 of this coming Friday's project, then simply place an order of $35 or more in my online store. You're going to be able to find the link to that online store in the description of this video. It has a host code attached so that I know that you are trying to get the class kit by placing your order. I appreciate that. It does help my small business, and it helps me to continue to be able to bring you videos at least twice a month, plus all my Friday Night Live videos. All right, let's get back to our projects. We're going to take things up just a notch here, and we're still not going to bring in the masks yet. I'm going to show that on my third card, but we are going to use our stamp set, and we're going to color it. So we're not going to add color with a mask, which is a great way to do it. We're going to add color with our Stampin' Blends. Stamp. This will be a piece that eventually gets cut out, so I don't have to really worry about my placement on here. Oh, look at that beautiful image. All right, we're going to set that aside. When I was a young girl, I had pajamas, a nightgown, if you will, that I loved, that had blue and green roses on it. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring in some of the light colors, Pool Party and Soft Seafoam, because those are kind of the soft colors that I had in my pajamas. So I'm going to begin by coloring with my Soft Seafoam. I'm just going to color all the leaves. I'm starting with the light, and then I will add some dimension by bringing in the dark. Now I've only done half of the leaves, but that's because you don't want to let too much time go in between when you add the darker colors, only because they just don't blend as well if you do that. I'm just going and putting some dark on the veins here and the stems. And if I want to color a little bit more around here, get this side a little bit darker, I can. And you can even color more, some leaves all in the dark, and even go over that again. While I'm here, I'm going to go ahead and do the stems. It doesn't matter whether you do light and then dark, or dark and then light. Sometimes it might matter a little bit, I suppose, but you can always go back and forth over and over and over again. In fact, that's how you get the smoothest color of blends. All right, I think that's all of that. Let's go back in with my light. I'll blend over that. I'm being very gentle with my tip, because remember, this is not a marker, it's a paintbrush. That's how you have to treat it. That's probably good. And now let's bring in our Pool Party. I did love these pajamas a lot. And I'm starting with the light. And we'll see what kind of look we have here. Now that's kind of a little bit more green than I was hoping for. So I think I'm going to try Balmy Blue. That might be a better blue. And I say better only because it'll seem more like what I had on my pajamas growing up. Yeah. And I have a picture somewhere. I just don't know where it is. I have a picture of myself and my twin sister sitting by the camp fireplace. So there was a wood stove there, and we were sitting on either side of it. And in our pajamas. Matching, of course. My mother liked to dress us all like a lot, much to our dismay. At least when we got older, she got a little bit better about it, and she would buy us the same things, but just different colors. But for much of my childhood, same color as my twin. But once we got into being able to have different colors, she gravitated towards red, I gravitated towards blue. Okay, my flowers are colored now. I just need to come in here and make things a little bit more pronounced. And I can see by the artist's lines where I should be adding a little bit more color. And I'm going to add a little bit more in the center here too of all of these flowers. And you can put a little bit more towards the bases or anywhere you see petals overlapping other petals. That's just the shadow from the petal. All right, now I'm going to come in and I'm going to go back over things, especially the really light areas, with my light. Now it looks like I'm coloring it all the same color right now, but it's just because it's a little bit wet. It will dry lighter. It's just like how paint dries a different color than when you put it on. So does this. And you can add a little bit of shading just by figuring out where you're coloring. And so all your flowers aren't the exact same color. Very similar, but they have some differences. So there is my flower. Now it's time to die cut it. So we will bring in our die, and I like to keep it in with my stamp set. And I'm going to bring in a piece of washi tape or two. And just take the time to get that nicely lined up. Tape it down and then we'll die cut it. All right, here is our die cut. And then I've also die cut the label that comes with that die set. And I'm going to stamp this "Holding You Close in My Heart." Never quite know when somebody's going through a struggle, you need to send just one of those, you know, I care kind of cards. Maybe it's a sympathy card, or maybe it's just somebody's just having a hard time and you want them to know that you're thinking of them. This needs cleaning first. All right, let's go with holding you close in my heart. In my heart, to my heart, close to my heart, close in my heart. Yeah, it's one of those two things, huh? I'm gonna bring in, I think, a base of Balmy Blue, because that is one of the colors that we used. And you know what? Black makes that pop very nicely. So we're gonna use some black. And then I think I'm gonna cut another piece of Balmy Blue. This piece of basic black was 5 1/8 by 3 7/8. I'm gonna cut a piece of blue that is 3 3/4 by 5. So we're gonna have something that's just a smidge smaller here. And we're gonna tack on all these layers. There we go. And then this is gonna go just right here. And this will go right like that. Just put some regular adhesive down here. Kind of get it going corner to corner a little bit. Here we go. And then we're going to I think pop this up. Now, I don't typically put in much accessories here, but I might make an exception for this string. So this is from the Baker's Twine 3-color pack. You could use white, you could use black. And if you get the class card kit, I'm not sure what you'll get. You might not get any of it because I don't know if I have enough. Depends on how much we have here. I think I'll just do a single loop though. It'll be a fairly large loop. So I'm gonna guess that I'm gonna use 10 inches. Let's see if I can do it 10 inches. I don't want to cut it until I know 10 inches isn't going to be enough probably. All right, so I'm just going to tie it and then we'll see. And we'll see what size we needed. So just kind of a big loop, big loops, because they're going to go, it's going to go like this. That's a little bit too big. And I know there are some of you that are not big bow fans. I mean, you can put it on the front. You know what? I don't think I want it. I think it probably needs to stay fairly simple based on the sentiment. Now, if you had a cheerier sentiment, add some bling, do all that fun stuff, but I like to keep things a little bit more subdued when it's a little bit more of a serious sentiment. So I've got all sorts of pieces of this laying around, so I might as well use up the ones that are almost done. Like that one. Now that one's done, I can get a new sheet going soon. Well, I could if I didn't have others waiting. Here we go. Isn't that a pretty card? It doesn't take a lot of work. If you don't want to color so much with markers, then stay tuned for the next process. We're going to get out our masks and show you how you can quickly color with that. It does take a little bit of time lining things up, but it's another way of coloring, and it can be quicker. Uh-oh, I almost forgot to mention something during the last commercial break. And that is, if your order reaches $60 or more before shipping and tax, then not only will you receive the class card kit that will allow you the consumables to create 2 of each of the 3 cards tonight, plus one of the projects that I'll be doing this coming Friday, I will also include a package of the adhesive backed sequins trios that I used on the first card tonight. So whether or not you're getting the Enduring Beauty product line or the Layers of Beauty product line or something altogether different, I hope that you know how very much I appreciate your support of my small business. Now, let's get back to our final project. Beach roses are a little past prime right now in wells. I guess actually quite a bit past prime because I don't see any more. But I absolutely love beach roses. They smell divine and they just make me smile when I go down to the beach. So we're going to take our cue from those beach roses and create a beautiful card using this Enduring Beauty stamp set and mask. I'm gonna bring in Petunia Pop and Garden Green and some blending brushes. We're going to be using the masks, and the Enduring Beauty masks are a set of 4 or 5. And they are numbered on them, so you can tell which side is up. And it looks like there are 5 of them. And what I like to do when I get these masks, because they are, the numbers are hard to read, I'm just gonna put the numbers right up there so that I don't have to guess. Make sure they're in the right order. Here's 2, here's 3, and this one is 4, and this one is 5. A little bit easier to see this way. Now you can line them up. Put my cover on my Sharpie. You can line up these notches. That's how you know that they're, where they're supposed to be, but I don't really bother with that. What I'm gonna do is, I think this is up with these three leaves. So what I'm gonna do, this first mask is, you can kind of see that it's just the flowers. So I'm gonna find where these kind of line up with the flowers. It's just like lining up dies. You wanna just see, you just wanna see the edges. You know what I wanna do first, I think? I want to put down a glue dot so that I can just hold my paper somewhat in place. I won't be slipping all over. I'm just gonna take a glue dot, put that down on my mat. There we go. I'm gonna go back. You will need some washi tape, painter's tape, something to hold your mask down as well. I'm just gonna grab whatever's nearby, which I think is washi tape. I'm just taking a little bit of time to make sure my mask is lined up pretty well. And I think it is. We're just gonna tape that, and I moved it as I went to tape it. Let's try that again. Make sure I'm seeing that black outline everywhere. That looks pretty good. And probably want to tape it in a couple spots. I'll be able to reuse this tape. All right, the petals are going to be Petunia Pop. And I just want this background color to be very light. I'm going to take some of my color off on this edge here on my Glass Mat Studio. And I'm just going to kind of add a light wash of color all over this. Not super bright, but bright enough. And if I need a little more ink, I just pick it up from my glass mat. Or if you don't have a glass mat, you probably go back into your ink pad. And I get this to be the color that I want it to be. I think I do want a little bit darker because the flowers in general are nice and bright and cheery. All right, so there we go. We're good there. Take my washi tape off. Now number 2, you would think would add the detail here, but it doesn't. It goes into the leaves. So we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna line it up. Now in general, I would probably say you want to stamp this on a card. I had stamped it kind of crooked because I wanted of the width of my piece here, but ideally I want to kind of have it so that my mask goes straight up and down so that there's not these edges over here. I just need to make sure that I am not taking my blending brush off the edge over here. And so I think what I will do to remind myself to be very careful is I will just tape that right over here on the edge. Just gives me a little bit of a reminder. Careful of the edge. I'm gonna bring in my garden green and just do what I did with my Petunia Pop. Just nice little wash of green here. When we come back in for the detail, you'll be just adding a little bit more green on top of green. So we'll just make that a little bit darker, which is what we want. All right, there are my leaves. All right, let's go to another mask. And to clean these, you just run them under the faucet. Now here we go. These are the shade marks for the flowers. So again, I kind of recall that my my masks had to kind of come up here on an angle because that's what they were doing in every other instance. All right. And if you're a little unsure where they go, you want to make sure that the leaves, if you have the leaves covered up, you're probably in good shape. I can see these leaves here. I want to make sure that my mask is covering the edge of the leaf without going into the flowers. So that's looking pretty good, I think. There we go. A little bit more maybe. If I were smart, which I am, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna see if I can see my leaves that I just colored right here. I've got my two things stacked. Now I'll just take my top one off now that I've got them in line. And now that I can see that they are where they're supposed to be, well, that's pretty cool. All right, put that here, put that here. And then we're gonna put a little bit more petal pink on. A little bit darker. Right, again, you wanna put some pressure on, but you don't want a ton of pressure. You wanna be able to get it into the spaces, but you don't want to lift up your masks at all. They're pretty sturdy, but you still want to make sure that you're not distorting them at all. Now it doesn't look like I'm really putting much of anything on here, but I can guarantee you I am. What I am noticing is I'm putting it also on the mask, so that makes it a little bit, it's a little deceiving of where this is actually going. If you ever want to see what it's looking like, just pick up one piece. Like, oh, you can see there it is. There's the other color being put in there. Nice. All right. And if you find that your light is too light, you can always go back and put some more on with that mask number 1. So I'm going to come in here with my number 4. And these are for the leaves again. So I want to put them right up here. Just play around. You can kind of see there's a place where the stems, you want to be able to see the stems, all those center stems. If you can see all of them, you're in really good shape, which I think I'm in pretty good shape, just a little bit. Let me try this one over here a little bit. Okay. Pretty good. We'll put our washi tape back on. We'll put in a little bit more green. Just circular motions. And the more you do this, the more you will find the touch that you want on your particular piece. So there we go. You have nice, that's probably a little darker than I would normally want. So I think to compensate, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back in here with this lighter one, with this first leaf one that we did. I'm going to come back in here and put in a little bit more color over all of it, just so that the dark is not quite as much of a contrast. So I'm just going to come back in here and color all the green. Make the leaves a little bit darker. And yes, I understand that that's making all of it darker, even those stems, but that's okay. Oh yeah, that is much, much better. Look how beautiful that is. That is just so, so pretty. I'm going to take my last one here. And this one, honestly, it looks fine the way it is. But I'm just going to put this last one over. And let's see if I can figure out where it goes. These will just be the darkest flower color. So it's going to be the Petunia Pop again. We're just going to rub some more over there. Just gives a little bit of accent to the center of those flowers a little bit. Yep, just a little bit more. And again, that one I think you can probably go without if you wanted to. All right, so now what I want to do is I need to bring in my, gotta get this unstuck here, and I'll probably try to take this off because I'm going to be die cutting. I'm I'm going to bring in the coordinating dies. And you can see we've got this one big die right here. And now this looks like the 3 pieces right up there. We're gonna put this on here, and it will leave just a thin white border. So I wanna make sure I just see the black border everywhere if I can. Bring back my washi tape. So I've used the same pieces of washi tape. You can use Post-its, whatever. And you're gonna die cut this. I'll be right back with the die cut. All right, we have the die cut. I'm just gonna remove it gently. There we go. And there we have beautiful little flowers. Now I'm going to bring in my card base, which is going to be basic black. See how beautiful that is, but we are going to do something just a little bit different here, because while this is very nice and striking, we're gonna cut this up a little bit. We are going to cut up that beautiful flower. Yes, you heard me right. But first I'm gonna bring in a piece of basic white. Now this measures, it's 1/2 inch less, so there's quite a nice wide border. It's 3 3/4 by 5 inches, and I'm going to emboss this. So I have lots of different choices for embossing folders. I'm going to use the Painted Texture embossing folder and just run this through. And by the magic of video, here we have it. And we're gonna put this in the corners here. So we need to cut this first. So let's get a nice, good cut on this. Just kind of cut it in half. Let's, let me see if I can get this on camera a bit. We're just gonna cut that in half. All that work. But you wait, it's gonna be beautiful. What we're gonna do here is we're going to bring this in, and I just need to decide which one's gonna be top, which one's gonna be bottom. But some of this will get cut off. We can just, let me get my tutorial up here. So we can bring this in a little bit. We'll just glue it, and while some of it can, maybe peek off a little bit, we're gonna cut some of this stuff off. So let's go ahead. I'm just gonna put some glue on here. And because I'm not sure what part gets cut off over here, I know this didn't, but some of the top did. I'm just gonna put a little glue up here in the corner. So if I lay this down, just got a little bit peeking off here, just right here. Maybe move it over a little bit more. Okay, so we've got that stuck up on the corner there. We'll just take our paper snips. I might let this dry a little bit. Maybe I can just do it. Just gonna cut that little piece off right there. I'm gonna let this one stay overhanging a bit, so we'll have something that looks like that. Then we're gonna do the same thing down here at the bottom. Now I want a little bit of space for my label that's gonna have my sentiment. So my sentiment's gonna come in here. So we can, that'll be pretty good. We can either stick it over the flower, or we can stick, we can kind of squeeze it under the flower. I think that's what we'll probably end up doing. So that's when you're gluing, you don't want to get too close to the edge. Give it a little bit of space. Let's here. There we go. This painted texture really, it kind of looks like the flowers are growing on a stucco wall or next to a stucco wall, which is kind of cool. All right. So there we have that. Ooh, I love these colors. The black just makes everything pop. Now let's go ahead and let's cut using the die, the label die from this set. We're going to cut just a sentiment, a label off here. We have photopolymer stamp sets, so it doesn't matter if we're straight or not. This is a beautiful label. It's just got some stitching along the edges. So you can see we can just kind of, once we have it stamped, we can just sneak this under here a little bit so that the flowers are kind of coming over it as well. We could have also popped these flowers up. It just makes cutting them a little bit harder, I think, cut on the edges. Let's go ahead and stamp a sentiment. I'm going to use my Petunia Pop. We just need to bring in our stamp set and figure out which sentiment we're going to use. So we've got, it's always been you, love endures all things. You mean so much to so many, holding you close in my heart. Embrace the beauty of you. I think I'm going to make it so I have a wedding card on hand, and I'm going to use the Love Endures All Things. Love endures all things. Yeah, it's this one right here. It's hard to read them when you have not used all of the stamps yet. So I haven't used this one yet. So they're all pretty clear. Just ink that up. And because I'm inking in a pink, which is in the red family, it will stain this stamp, and that's okay. Now, I'm noticing it's bubbling up a little bit. That's because I have not cleaned this stamp yet. It's probably got a little bit of residue left on it. So I'm going to find my stamp cleaner and give it a wash. All right. That's better. And sometimes if your ink pad is very juicy, this one is, you get that issue as well. You know what? That is the problem. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stamp off onto this scrap. You can see it looks kind of muddled. So what you can do is you can take a spoon. I think I have a spoon here somewhere for this very purpose. I do. Just take a spoon and you're going to just rub some of the ink out of the center. Watch where you place this. Then you're going to ink your stamp right up in the center where you've taken some of the ink off. And now you're going to get a better image. There. That's a better image for sure. You see the difference? That was my stamp cleaner falling. All right. So now what we're going to do is we're going to find where this gets positioned. And maybe I go over the top. You know what? I think I will. I think I'm going to stay over on the top, and I'm going to pop them up with dimensionals. So let's grab some dimensionals here. Oops, that's not dimensionals. Those are strips. Here's my dimensionals. And because it's rather long, I'm going to use a third one in the center. All right, so we have love endures all things. All right, let's go ahead and adhere this down. Now this is a wedding card, so we do definitely need to put some bling on it, don't we? And we have a choice. So I can bring, this is not bling, these are dots, colored dots, and they're matte. So I'm not a big fan of those right here for this. So let's see if we can find some of the old standby for weddings. And that's basic rhinestones. Just pull in a couple of these here. And here's a larger one. Oh, let's see where I want to put it. Here. Here's a smaller one up here. Maybe. I'm not pushing them down very hard because I'm always changing my mind when it comes to these guys. That's pretty good. And that is the front of our card. What I'm going to do for the inside is just create another layer, just a simple white layer, and I'm going to stamp the flower partially on it. Let me show you what I mean. All right, I've got a piece of my basic white, and I tacked it right down like it was before. I'm going to take just a bit of my stamp and ink it. And we're gonna go just in the corner here. All right. I'm gonna just wipe up this a little bit. This is water-based ink, so it comes right up easily. All right, now we need to bring in our stencils again. And good thing I numbered them. I was going to start with the wrong one. So this is the part up here. And I purposefully made it so that my 3 leaves were going at least closer to up, so it takes less time to position this thing. So I'm going to hold this down right here, bringing back in the same washi tape. Ooh! I moved. All right. My glue dot isn't doing an effective job here. All right. There we go. There's that. Fortunately, I didn't make enough of an impression that it did anything. So here's my 3 leaves up here. Put them like that. All right. And I can hold it down a little bit better if I do hook it to the mask. And we will add some more green here. Notice I didn't even have to pick up any more ink. There's still plenty of ink on this. When I'm using masks, I like, before I go to the bother of washing all this stuff, I make a couple because then I don't have to worry so much about cleaning. This is right over here somewhere. All right, and if you can't remember our trick, same thing that I did before. I'm gonna line up my 2s and I'm gonna find my leaves. And that's where they were, because these notches make sure that these are exactly lined up. I'm gonna line them both up. Just check this one. It slipped a little bit. Here we go. Okay. And we're going to add in, oops, that slipped. Ooh, that's because this is not hooked down to the glass mat. There we go. Now we're just gonna add some more color to my flowers. It just puts in that shading there. And I could stop there if I wanted to. I'm tempted to. But let's just go a little bit further. Kind of align things. I want to see those black lines going through the leaves. There we go, that's good. And we'll just put some green in there. Just a little bit. And there we go. There we have a beautiful inside, and we can write our lovely note to the bride and groom. I don't have to pick this off, but I usually do because I like to use the glue, and it has a different thickness than the glue dots. And there we go. Love endures all things. I hope you've enjoyed tonight's class. Which project did you like best? I honestly don't know if I can pick. Once I start picking one, then I think, oh, but I like the other one. You know, there's the nostalgia of the nightgown that I used to have as a child. There's the fresh summery feel to this one, and summer's great right now, so I like this. But then there's just the pop of color and just the beauty of these beach roses that I love as well. So I really can't decide, but I would love to hear which one you like best. Go ahead and put your vote in the comments. Don't forget to join me this coming Friday for my Friday Night Live at 7:30 right here on my YouTube channel. We're going to create one more project with the Enduring Beauties product line. Have a great rest of your week. We'll see you Friday.